Okay, so now let's see the examples of ellipse. So let's just recap a little bit from the previous video. We know that the value of C is the distance between center and vertex, which is for horizontal distance here, always A. Doesn't matter what is the shape, vertical or horizontal. B is the distance between center and vertex, vertical distance, this is B. And C is distance between center and foci, okay? Between center and foci. So, foci always lies on the major axis. So, how to differentiate the major axis? If the value of A is greater than B, your major axis is horizontal. That means your shape is like this. Okay, if A is less than B, your major axis is vertical. That means your shape is like this. Okay, so we are going to refer on the value of A and B. Okay, that is very important value there. Okay, so let's see example 18 here. Find the center and the foci of the ellipse. So question asks us to find center and foci. So very easy. You have the equation, so you should know your center here, which is center is the value of HK. So here we have x plus 3, here we have y minus 1. That means we have the center equals to negative 3, 1. Okay, straightforward here. And then you know that this is the value of A, this is the value of B. So automatically we know that 9 is greater than 4. So we have A square greater than B square. So that is actually the first thing that you have to determine. Okay, so A square is greater than B square. So we know that the shape is horizontal here. Okay, so this is going to be the shape. That is the first thing that you have to determine. So we know the center from the equation here, and now we have the value of A, which is A square is equals to 9. Okay, which is we have A is equals to 3. Yes, plus minus 3, but we know that A, B, C is the distance, so we are going to choose the positive value only. So B square is 4, so we have B is equals to 2. Okay, so we have the distance between center vertex, distance between center dengan vertex. So next we are going to find the distance between center and foci. So how are we going to find? The value is C. So the formula is C square equals to A square minus B square. Okay, so now we have A square is 9. Remember, this is your A square, this is your A. So 9 minus 4, we have 5. Okay, so this is the value of C square. That means our value of C is square root 5. Okay, so now let's find the foci. How are we going to find the foci? The easiest way is by drawing the ellipse. Okay, so we are going to plot the ellipse here. So let's see here. Okay, sorry, here we have the major axis, horizontal major axis. So let's just draw horizontal major axis here, because the question doesn't ask us to sketch. So let's just scribble down here. So we have the center. This is the major axis. Remember, major axis is horizontal. So we have center HK, negative 3, 1. Okay, so obviously vertex here and vertex here, V1 and V2. Okay, so your foci are going to be here. This is foci 1, this is foci 2. Okay, so this is the coordinate that we want to find here. Okay, so you have the value of C here. C is the distance between center and foci. This is your C. Okay, this is C, which is this is square root 5, and this one also is square root 5. Okay, so what we are going to do here is we are going to find the coordinate of F1. So what doesn't change here? Okay, this is the major axis. Your foci lies on the major axis. So major axis here is y equals to 1. Okay, so 1 will never change. So here we have 1 won't change here. So we take the value of H, negative 3, since F1 is on the left of the center, so you have to minus. Minus by what? By the distance here, which is square root 5. Okay, square root 5. So that is your coordinate for F1. So the same thing for F2. So your y coordinate won't change because this is your major axis here, which is at y equals to 1. So we have negative 3. Since this coordinate is on the right of the center, you have to plus. Plus by what? By the distance, which is plus C. So here we have the foci 1 and foci 2, which is negative 3 minus square root 5, 1. And the other foci is negative 3 plus square root 5, 1. Okay, and that's going to be our final answer. Okay, you can just leave it your answer just like that. Don't have to change into decimal or anything. Okay, so remember this is our major axis, or if you want to draw your minor axis also pun boleh jugalah. No problem. Okay, because the question doesn't ask us to sketch, so we just scribble down everything to determine the value, the coordinate of the foci here. So let's see example 19. Sketch the graph. Now the question asks to sketch the graph. So what are we going to do if the question asks us to sketch the graph? So the first thing that you have to know to sketch is obviously the shape. Okay, the shape has to be correct. And the second thing is all must be labeled. Okay, all label, that means foci, vertex, center, all must be labeled. Okay, and the third mark normally is all correct with axis. Okay, so that is 3 marks for sketching. So but here, as you can see, we have 16x squared plus 9y squared plus 64x minus 18y minus 17y, which is we don't have our standard equation for ellipse. And back to circle, how are we going to change general equation to standard equation? What are we going to do? General equation to standard equation, we have to do completing the square. Okay, so now we are going to do completing the square, but you have to remember, okay, before that, let's write that down first. 16x squared plus 9y squared plus 64x minus 18y minus 71 equals to 0. Okay, remember, before you do your completing the square, the value, your coefficient of a here has to be 1. Okay, has to be 1, but we don't want to divide by 16 or 9. Okay, that's just gonna make it very complicated. So what are you going to do here is we are going to factorize. Okay, but before that, let's just group everything together. So here we have 16x squared plus 64x plus 9y squared minus 81y equals to 71. Just let's bring 71 on the other side. So this is one thing for x, and this is one thing for y. Okay, so remember, if you want to do completing the square, your coefficient has to be 1. Okay, completing the square, coefficient x square and y square mesti 1 equals to 1. Okay, so that means we cannot divide by 16. Okay, if you want to divide by 16, you have to divide everything with 16. Okay, so that's just gonna make everything complicated. You're gonna end up with a fraction. So what are we going to do here is we are going to factorize 16. Okay, factorize 16, x squared plus, that's gonna be 4x. Okay, and this one here also we are going to factorize 9. So we have y squared minus 2y equals to 71. So here we have this part here, and here we have this part here. So what are we going to do is we are going to do completing the square on here and here. So here we have x squared plus 4x plus b over 2 square minus b over 2 square. That's it. Okay, finish on the blue side here, and let's continue on the yellow side. We have y squared plus, minus 2y plus b over 2, your b here is negative 2 square minus negative 2 over 2 square. Finish, equals to 71. Okay, here is the blue part, and here is the yellow part. Okay, so the next thing that we are going to do here is obviously simplify the completing the square part, which is we are going to end up with x plus b over 2, which is we get 2 here square minus this part here, we calculate 4 over 2 square, we get negative 4 there, and here we have 9 y minus 1 square minus 1 equals to 71. Okay, remember, every time you do your completing the square, always check back. If this one here is plus, this one here has to be plus. If this one here is minus, this one has to be minus. That is very important because that determines the value, the coordinate of your center. Okay, if your coordinate of center is wrong, so your foci, your vertex, everything will be wrong. Okay, please make sure your center is correct. Okay, if here is plus, this one here has to be plus. If here is minus, this has to be minus. Okay, so now let's simplify everything. We are going to expand 16 and we are going to expand 9. So you are going to get 16 x plus 2 square minus 64. Where is my 4? Plus 9 y minus 1 square minus 9 equals to 71. Just bear with me for a second. Equals to 71. Okay, so now let's bring negative 64 and negative 9 on the other side. We only want x and y here. So you're going to end up with 16x plus 2 square plus 9 y minus 1 square equals to 71 plus 9 plus 64. That's going to get us 144. Okay, but remember, this is still not your standard equation for your ellipse. Remember, your standard equation of your ellipse, this has to be 1. Okay, in front of here has to be 1. This has to be 1. In front of this thing cannot be any coefficient. So here we have 16 and 9. That means we have to divide by 16 and 9. Okay, so are we going to divide by 16 or 9 here? Okay, either one lah. Okay, so we are going to divide everything with 16, 9? No, I don't know. We don't know. Okay, one more thing that you have to remember here is your standard equation here. Not only your coefficient of x minus h square and y minus k square has to be 1. Here, on the right hand side here also has to be 1. Okay, this one here also has to be 1. So what we are going to do here, instead of we think which one we are going to divide, is it 16 or is it 9, we are going to make this one first become 1. So that means divide everything with 144. Okay, so we are going to divide everything with 144. That means we have 16. Let's just write everything down so that you not confused. Divide by 144 plus 9 y minus 1 square divide by 144, and this one also divide by 144. So here we have 1. 9 over 144 we get 16, and here 16 over 144 we get 9. So here we have x plus 2 square over 9 plus y minus 1 square over 16. There you go. That is your standard equation of ellipse. Okay, looks like complicated, but it is straightforward, completing the square. Okay, so from here we have our standard equation. So now we are going to find everything that the question asks, which is the question asks for sketching. Okay, we have to sketch the graph. That means you have to know the vertex, you have to know the center, you have to know the foci here. So let's see if we can find the center. Obviously we can find the center, but like I said in the previous example, the first thing that you have to know is you have to determine the shape here. So this is the value of A, this is the value of B. That means our value of A is less than B. Okay, which is A square is less than B square. So that means your shape here is gonna be vertical. Okay, so that's gonna be the shape of our ellipse. Okay, straightforward, we are going to have the center. And here is the center, which is we have -2, 1. So that's gonna be the center. Okay, so from that equation itself, we already know the two things here. Okay, so we have A square equals to 9. So we have A equals to 3. B square equals to 16. B is equals to 4. So now we can find the value of C. So we have C square equals to B square minus A square. Okay, B square minus A square. Remember the big one, the big value minus by the smaller value. Okay, because now we have B greater than A, so we are going to do 16 minus by A. Okay, sorry, minus by 9. So 16 minus by 9, we get 7. That means C is equals to square root 7. So we have value of A, we have the value of A, we have the value of B, and also we have the value of C. Now we can find the foci, vertex, and everything. So let's sketch that. So obviously, if the question asks us to sketch, we have to draw the axis. Okay, so here we have the axis Y, we have the x-axis here. So with x and y axis. Okay, remember sketching, always write your x and y axis first. So now we know that the shape is vertical, so obviously the major axis is vertical, which is at negative 2, 1. So let's plot negative 2, 1 first. So here is negative 2, and here is 1. So here is going to be the center. Okay, let's mark that down, negative 2, 1 as the center. Okay, let's just draw a dotted line here, which is, here is your minus axis. Okay, here is your minor axis, and here is going to be your major axis. Okay, give me a second here. Okay, so this is going to be your major axis, this is going to be your minor axis. So your shape is going to be looking like this. Okay, so we know that the vertex here, and the foci lies on the major axis here. So what we are going to do first is we are going to find the foci first. So let's find the foci. So F1, okay, which is, how are we going to determine our F1? So what doesn't change here? Remember, foci lies on the major axis. Your major axis is x equals to h here, which is x equals to negative 2. So negative 2 doesn't change. So let's just put negative 2 here. Okay, so what will change is your y coordinate. So here we have 1. So 1. Since we want to know foci up here above the center, we have to plus. Plus by what? By the distance between foci and center, which is square root 7. So that's going to be 1 plus square root 7. Okay, so let's plot that thing. See, this is your F1. Okay, so let's find our F2, which is obviously below this. Okay, maybe somewhere around here. So we have negative 2, doesn't change. Okay, doesn't change because it is the major axis. So here is our y coordinate 1. Since the foci is below the center, you have to minus by the distance. 1 minus square root 7. Okay, so 1 minus square root 7 is down here. So this is your F2. Okay, now let's find the major vertex. Somewhere here, somewhere here. Okay, let's find the major vertex. Let's just label that as V1. Okay, so V1, let's see, we want to find V1 up here. So still, your x coordinate won't change, which is negative 2. So here is still going to be negative 2. So what will change here is the value of k. So here we have 1. Since this is above, you have to plus by the distance between center and the vertex. Okay, if we have the distance between vertex vertical, that means that is the value of b. Okay, so value of b, we have 4 here. So we have negative 2, 1 plus 4, which is we end up with negative 2, 5. Okay, so let's label that as V1. Okay, let's find our V2 here. V2 will be down here below the focus. Still the x coordinate didn't change. So we have 1. Since it is below the center, we have to minus by the distance of B. So we have 4. Here we have negative 2, negative 3. So let's label that. Here is our V2. Okay, from that we already have the shape here. It's going to be like this, but since we have to sketch, you have to label everything, including your minor axis. So let's find the minor axis, V3. So minor axis is going to be somewhere here. Okay, this is your V3, let's say. So what will never change? for here. This is y equals to -1. So that means the y coordinate didn't change. -1. So, sorry, 1 there. Not -1, 1. So here we have the x coordinate is -2. Since we want to find the vertex here on the left hand side of your center, we have to minus. And the distance between this here is a. Okay, so we have to minus by a, which is the value of a is 3. So here we are going to get -2 minus 3 is -5, 1. Okay, so let's label -2, -5, 1 is somewhere around here. So this is going to be our V3. And last one here, our V4 is going to be somewhere here or somewhere here. We don't know. That's why we have to find it first. So last one, V4 is equals to, what doesn't change is the coordinate of y. Okay, I'm trying to pack everything together here. -2. And since it's on the right hand side, we have to plus by a. So here we have 1, 1. So that means your V1 is positive. Okay, 1, 1. V1 here. So what is left to do here is just draw the ellipse. Okay, this is the hardest part. Make sure everything passes through. Okay, that's not bad. Okay, so here is our V1, passes through V3, V1, sorry, this is V4. Okay, V2, and we have the foci here. Okay, and this is your axis. X-axis, this is the minor axis here. Okay, so that is how we draw, how we sketch the ellipse. Okay, we have the minor axis, we have the major axis. Make sure everything is labeled. If you want to label the point, the coordinate also pun tak ada masalah, pun boleh. If you just want to label F1, F2 pun boleh juga. Okay, if you want to label F1, F2, V1, V2, V3, V4, make sure all this value is there. Okay, alright, so that is how we sketch the ellipse. Okay, so let's go to the next example here. 20. Write the equation of the ellipse that has vertices at -3, -5, 7, -5, foci at -1, -5, and 5, -5. What you notice from here is we don't have the equation. We have to find the equation. So how are we going to know the A and B? How are we going to know it's either horizontal or vertical? That is the only way to know, right? The value of B and A. So, but one more thing that you have to know here, what is given to us is the vertices. Doesn't mention it is a major or minor vertex, but it is given to us also the foci. Okay, what you can notice from here, the y coordinate for the vertex and the foci. Okay, let's see. We have -5, -5, -5, -5. That means the foci, remember the foci here always lies on major axis. Always lies on major axis. Since it has the same coordinate as this one here, the vertex here, that means this is the major axis. Okay, so that means since you have, let's say, the axis y equals to -5, this is y equals to -5. So this is your major axis. That means your shape is horizontal. Okay, so here we have the standard equation, x minus h square over a square plus y minus k square over b square is equals to 1 with the horizontal shape. Okay, one more time. Let's see. Foci always lie on major axis. So see here we have -5, -5, which is y is equals to -5 is your major axis. Okay, we have two foci. The same thing here is the y coordinate. That means that is your major axis at y equals to -5. Okay, so that means we know that this is the major axis, and the major vertex is this one here because we have the same y coordinate that. So now, how are we going to find the center? Let's just plot everything here instead of just draw. Let's just plot everything. Okay, but the question doesn't ask us to sketch, then it's fine just to scribble everything down here. So we don't know the center, but we do know the vertex here. We do know the foci. We know that it lies on the major axis, the horizontal major axis. So let's label that as -1, -5. And here is 5, -5. And this point is -3, -5. And this point here is 7, -5. So obviously this is V1, this is F1, this is F2, this is V2. So we want to find the center. Okay, what do you know? How are we going to find the center? We don't have the equation yet. We want to find the equation. What do we know? How are we going to find the center? As you can see from here, the focus, the center is in the center of the two midpoints here. Okay, sorry, let's just rephrase that. The center here is the center of the two foci here. The same thing, this is the center between these two vertex here. So how are we going to find the coordinate of the center? Is just finding the midpoint of these two coordinate or these two coordinate. So let's find the center. So the center is actually midpoint of the two foci. Okay, midpoint of foci. So that's gonna get us -1 plus 5 over 2, -5 minus 5 over 2, which is we have 2, -5. So we have the center. Okay, so let's plot the center. So we have the center at 2, 5. Okay, so 2, -5. So now we already have the center, which means we have the value of y and the value of k. So we want to find the equation. We need the value of a and b. So we do know that a is the distance between the major vertex and the, no, not the major vertex, the distance between the vertex and the center for the horizontal axis, for the horizontal axis. That means this is a. So can you find the value of a? We have the coordinate of vertex is 7. Here we have 2. That means to find a is just simply 7 minus 2. So a is equals to 7 minus 2. You can always check back with this part here. Okay, so here we have -3 minus by 2, which is we get -5. Obviously -5 is not a distance, so the distance is going to be +5. Okay, so b is the distance between the center and the minor, not the minor vertex, the center and the vertex for the vertical vertex, sorry, vertical axis here. But we don't have any vertical, any minor axis here. Okay, we don't have minor vertex here, so we don't have the value of b. Okay, so how are we going to find the value of b? We need the value of b to find the equation. So one more thing that we have here is the distance between center and the foci. Okay, so do the same thing here. Here we have, let's take here. Here we have 5. Here is 2. So to find the distance here is just simply 5 minus 2. So instead of finding b, let's find c first. 5 minus 2. Which is we have 3. Here we have 5. Okay, you can always check with this one first. Okay, so we have -1 here, this one is 2, so -1 minus 2, we get -3, that means +3. The distance is going to be +3. Okay, so now we have the value of a, we have the value of b, you have to find the value of c. So one more equation that you know, since this is a horizontal ellipse, that means we have a square greater than b square. So here the formula for finding the c is c square equals to a square minus b square. Always the biggest one minus by the smallest one. Okay, the bigger one minus the smaller one. So now we have c is 3 square, a is 5 square minus b square. Now we have b square equals to 16. Then we have the value of b equals to 4. Okay, so automatically we have everything. X minus 2 square over a square is 25 plus y plus 5 square. Our b square is 16 and this one is equals to 1. Okay, so that is the equation of the ellipse. Okay, which we have the vertices and also the foci. We can find the equation of ellipse. So there are a few things that you have to know here, which is to find the center is the midpoint of the two foci or the midpoint of the two major vertex, and also you can find the distance if you have the two coordinates here. Okay, so moving on to the last example for ellipse here, example 21. This is very simple. Find the equation of ellipse. So we have to find the equation of ellipse with center 3, 1. Easy, we have the center. Let's just write that down. Center is 3, 1. Okay, here is what is given to us. Major axis running parallel with the y-axis. What does it mean by that? Major axis is running parallel with the y-axis. So this is x-axis, this is y-axis. Parallel to y-axis is this one here. So this is the major axis. That means your shape of the ellipse should be vertical. So that is one thing that we know. Okay, so shape is vertical. So here, the length of major axis is 10 units. So that is what is given to us. The length of the major axis is 10 units and the length of the minor axis is 6 units. Okay, so now let's draw that again. This is your x-axis, this is the y-axis. The question said the major axis is parallel to the y-axis. So here we have length of major axis. Okay, so that means this is vertex 1, vertex 2. So this part here is 10 unit. Okay, so if you have a vertical major axis, distance between, let's just draw that. Okay, let's draw that because the question also asks us to sketch. So let's just sketch everything. We have the axis here, x-axis, y-axis, and we have the major axis, major axis. How do I know that the major axis is somewhere here? And how do I know that the minor axis is somewhere here? Not here, here, or not here, here. Because we know the center here. The center is 3, 1, which is we can mark that 3 here, 1 here. Okay, so this is going to be the center. And we know that here is going to be your V1. Okay, major vertex V1, V2. Okay, so we know that the distance between this is B and this is also B. That means the length of the major axis is 2B. Okay, so it is given to us the length of major axis is 10. Okay, so length of major axis is 10. So that means 2B is equals to 10, which is we automatically have the value of B equals to 5. Okay, so the question also give us the minor axis. Okay, the length of the minor axis. Obviously you don't have to think. The length of minor axis is 6. That means 2A is equals to 6. Automatically we have the value of A, which is 3. Okay, you have A, you have B, you can always find your C. So C square equals to, since the shape is vertical, so that means the A square is less than B square. So B is the bigger one. So we have B square minus A square here. So that's gonna be 25 minus 9, and here we have 16. Therefore your 6 is equals to, your C is equals to 4. Okay, so now let's plot everything. We first find the focus first. Let's find F1. Okay, so F1 here, what doesn't change? Foci lies on the major axis. Your major axis here is x equals to 3. So that means 3 doesn't change. Okay, so here we have 1. Foci is above the center. That means you have to plus by the distance, which is the distance is 4. So we have 3, 5. Okay, so let's find F2 here. What doesn't change? 3 doesn't change. We have 1. and the foci is below the center. That means you have to minus by the distance, which is the distance is 4. So here we have 3, negative 3. Okay, so you can plot that. 3, negative 3 is somewhere here. This is F2. Now V1 and V2. So V1 is equals to, what does it change? V1, V2 is the major vertex. So 3. So here is 1, the distance is B. That means we have 1 plus 5. Okay, 1 plus 5. So here we have 3, 6. Find V2 equals to 3. 1 minus 5, we have 3, negative 4. Okay, right? So label that. V1, V2 all in the same position. I mean in the right position. So let's find the minor axis, V3. We don't know, it's either here or here. So we have to find. So minor axis, what doesn't change here is your your K here. Okay, so K doesn't change. So what will change here is your coordinate of X. So we have 3. Since V3 is on the left hand side, it's going to minus. The distance for horizontal is A. So 3 minus 3, we get 0, 1. So that means you know that the minor vertex here lies on y-axis. Okay, V3. And the last one is V4. So we have 3 on the right hand side. That means plus by A. And 1 doesn't change. So we have 6, 1 there. Label that. Okay, so what is left to do is we are going to draw the ellipse. Hopefully I can draw this. Make sure you know that the shape is going to be ellipse. Okay, don't draw a circle. You're not gonna get mark for that shape there. Okay, so now we have the circle. We have labeled everything. Here we have V4. Okay, we have V1, V2, V3, V4, F1, F2, C. Okay, and we have all the value here, and we have sketched the perfect shape, and that is how. No, there is one more thing here. Question asked to find the equation of the ellipse. That is the first question. So let's just put everything together. So the equation of ellipse is x minus 3 square over a square is 9 plus y. What is our k? 1 square equals to 25 equals to 1. Okay, so make sure you check everything, what the question asks and what the question want, and you have everything, and we are good to go. So that's it for ellipse. Thank you.